Yeah, welcome to the second Telescape Live Zoom Q&A. Thank you so much to everyone who's come, and hi to everyone watching on YouTube, assuming we managed to get the video up on YouTube afterwards, which is the plan. As I mentioned before, if you don't want to be recorded, please don't turn on your camera because we're recording. We are going to do questions. You can mechanics of that in a minute, but first I will introduce my two guests. Very lucky to have two special guests for this session. So we have Seth and Tyler, both from Hourglass Escapes. So Seth is the owner of Hourglass Escapes, lots of experience in the escape room industry, has made some amazing online games. And Tyler is the man behind a lot of the, most of the Telescape development for those games, and also a lot of the art. And if you've played any of the games, you'll know how amazing they look. In terms of like the art and Telescape, as well as the sets and the games themselves. If I can pass over, I'll pass over to you, Seth, first. Do you want to give a little intro?
Yeah, hi, I'm Seth. I'm the owner at Hourglass Escapes. I do more of the kind of like top-down game design and kind of all the ideas that kind of in the beginning, but then we've got Tyler, who then makes things possible and tells me when my ideas are dumb or when they're good, and I really like it. I know it always embarrasses them, but I give them most of the credit because, I mean, I come up with the weird ideas and then Tyler makes it happen. But yeah, we do a lot of live avatar games, game building for other people, like point and click and stuff. We do a little bit of everything. And then I guess I'll pass it over to Tyler, our principal artist and designer.
Cool. Well, hey, I'm Tyler. I am the principal artist and designer at Hourglass. I haven't nearly been in the industry as long as Seth. The things I did before Hourglass were more like illustration and video game art and animation. So I've kind of run a gambit of weird career paths. So this just feels like an amalgamation of everything that I've done. Yeah, that's what I got to say.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So this is going to work very similar to the last time. So last time we did this. So any questions that you've got, the best way to let us know you've got a question is down the bottom of your screen. You should have a little reactions button. You can click that, and then you can click raise hand. So if you've got a question, virtually raise your hand. You can also raise your hand on camera if you want. We might not spot you, but yeah. So that's the best way to let us know that you want to ask a question. Then Carl will pick people, and you can ask a question.
Oh.
If you don't want to ask on camera, feel free to ask in the chat. So if you ask a question in the chat, Carl's keeping an eye on those. And he again will select questions for us to answer. Feel free to ask questions that are aimed at me, at Seth, or at Tyler. Anything you want to know about Telescape, the software, about using the software, and about running online games. It's all good. Let's get going.
Okay, so I can see a conversation in the chat that I think is aimed more at you, Tom, in regards to the software. Is there a way to look at stats after a game is finished?
Right now there's not really. You can end your game with it showing some timers, usually showing some paused timers, and then you can sort of join the game and afterwards and have a look. I realize that's not a great answer though. We're going to do something along those lines. Definitely going to do some way of nominating a timer as like a game timer, so that at the end of the game you can find it from the admin and see what it was.
We've also got a question from Bob Afret.
Hi. Well, I got two. Well, I guess it's for all of you guys. So one of the issues that I run into is with our game masters is when they're playing the game and they're going between the game master screen and the view of what the players see, is that the X to close out of what they want is actually behind our GM. Is there a way to either move that X down, or can you guys? Yeah, I guess that's the main thing I'm kind of running into right now. And then I have another question for Hourglass is looking at your old YouTube kind of conversation with Tom, I saw that you used a match that went over and it lit a candle and then whatever. Was that because they clicked on it and that was their cursor, or did it automatically switch the background because you waved over a hotspot?
You want to answer that? I mean, Tyler could probably answer that technically better.
Yeah, Tyler, do you want to start with that?
So it's not. It was a. Let's see if I can remember all the words on how we did this. So it was a draggable object that reached a snap point. When it was like let go on the snap point, you drag the object over the snap point. When it reached a snap point, it would trigger a code. The code would change the background instantaneously, or whatever it was. It was honestly just a layer on top of what our current background was, and it made everything disappear. Yeah,
Okay, so they did have to drop the match on the candle to change the backgrounds. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It just wasn't just like a sweep over, because they actually released it. Okay.
Yeah.
No,
okay,
you have to release it.
And that activated the little flame GIF as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then the X question.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I understand. So it's the okay, can you say again?
Yeah, so at the top of the screen, like let's just say this is the top of the screen, is we have, wait, let me try to do it this way. So on one side, you got the players, on the other side, you've got the GM. And when you go into the player mode, the X actually sits behind our bar that says GM. So he's trying to go back to the GM and he keeps hitting, or he's trying to exit out of that to see what they're going, and he keeps hitting back to the GM.
Right. I thought I'd fixed that bug. In fact, I'm pretty sure I did fix that bug, and it sounds like it's come back. So yeah, I will get that fixed. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, and maybe it's just I have an older version, or I don't know, but
no, that sounds like definitely our fault.
Okay. Well, cool. Thank you so much.
No problem.
There's I think Yoda has asked 2 questions in the chat. I'll skip to the second one because I think it probably a better follow-on from the last question. In a friend's game, it's loading and showing the draggables first while loading the background. So all the other items are hidden or visible before the background blends in. I'm assuming that's to do with the loading sequence, Tom.
Yeah. So yeah, technically what's happening there is that your item is loading, and then the hotspots are loading after that. That is something that we're hopefully going to fix properly quite soon, and just preload all of the hotspots before we show the background, so there's no time between that. But I think it is something that you can kind of work around. I don't know, Tyler or Seth, if you've got particular experience with working around that kind of issue.
I imagine it's something to do with the file size of the image of whatever is loading. So if you have a real large file for your background and your hotspots are really tiny, the hotspots are going to load first, regardless. It's just kind of like how the internet sees a thing. So like if a 6 kilobyte file and a 5 kilobyte file are right next to each other, the 5 kilobyte file will show up first before the 6 kilobyte file. So like, yeah, that's, I mean, my experience would be, if you want the hotspots to load slower, you could make them a higher resolution. And I mean, it's a weird workaround, but it'd be a fix.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. I think working with file sizes is I think it's usually worth making them smaller if you can, because it just means that everything loads quicker. So yeah, if the background is particularly large, it's going to take a long time to load. But in fact, there was a really good chat in the Facebook group recently about that. Some really good details on that. But another thing, if you can design things so that the secrets are only display once they need to, so you can use things like transparent hotspots over what's already on the background, and then that will mean that your secrets aren't given away.
I noticed that Yoda said that the resolution of the image is effectively, I'm assuming that's like a 1080p image, so it's 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. It's less to do with the physical size of the image, it's more to do with the actual file size we're talking about. I think, and I know that somebody's responded in regards to what file format. So is it a PNG, is it a JPEG, is it a GIF? I know that it's possible to save those file formats with some element of compression. So you could potentially reduce your the actual file size of an image by saving with a bit of JPEG compression or something. So you guys know better than I do, but I know in the early days of Telescape, when you set up a code to load in a certain number of images, the sequence of images in regards to if you were calling images one at a time via a code, the actual sequence was counterintuitive in regards to it loaded the last one first. I don't know whether that's still the same, but is that potentially related as well?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think that's happening now. But yeah, that was a thing from the past.
Okay. There's quite a few questions appearing in the chat. If anybody did want to raise a hand and ask a question in person via video, please do. I'll just follow through on the chat in the meantime. Shana asks, as somebody building their first room based from a real room, is there any examples of how the back end works from a working room? I find it easier to understand when I've seen examples, but haven't found something similar. So I'm assuming that's seeing examples of how the Gamesmaster would trigger something in room and how it would interact with Telescape to players.
I think is that maybe asking about just whether there's some examples of how things are set up. Is that would that be a?
Do we have any, or have we got potentially some to show?
So right now, one thing we're working on at the moment, particularly actually after last time we did one of these Q&As, one of the things that really came up is that people wanted to have more examples to work from. So we are working on a samples gallery where you'll be able to pull in various samples into your account and modify them and do stuff with them. Those won't be full games because myself and Carl haven't built any full games. You know, we built lots of little samples and helped lots of people build games, but so we don't have that at the moment. But we'll definitely have samples that kind of show how things work. So, for example, the 8-bit dungeon that I demoed recently in a video, we're going to make that available for you to play with. So hopefully that will help, and that's something that we're working on. Most of the code to do that is written. We're just working on getting all the sort of the descriptions written and everything set up.
Following down the chat, there's a couple of references to the earlier question about file sizes and images downloading. I notice David Bodsworth suggests that you could potentially put a blank image in and have it as an item in an alternate image. Boba Fett asks, do we have any recommendations for file sizes? In regards to like pixel sizes or do we have any recommendations?
I can answer that because I got all the file sizes like on my computer right now. So for our Mad Pharaoh game, most of the assets range between let's see, the smallest file size is 70 kilobytes, and the larger file sizes are like 1 megabyte, 1.5 megabytes. Generally, like, that kind of file size loads pretty quickly on internet that's not very great. So like, I don't have personally very fast internet at home. So when I bring up something like Mad Pharaoh and one of these 1 megabyte files starts loading, it loads about as quickly as a kilobyte file would load, or one of the smaller kilobyte files would load. So and then general size of an image, usually you don't want to go over the let's see, what is our background size for things? It is well, now I put that one away somewhere. Cool. Well, it'll take me a second to find this, but I can bring it up.
Yeah, it might even be worth showing like one of the scenes and how all that stuff layers in and loads.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Should we take another question? Because I'm sure that will take a little while to find all the right bits. But should we take another question and then come back to Tyler to show that if you're up for that?
Yeah, let me get my Telescape going.
Yeah.
So another question.
Yeah.
Okay. So Wild Hair Escapes, are they available to ask a question via audio?
Yeah, sure. This is Todd, by the way. I just renamed myself on there.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, how are you? So yeah, one of the things we're trying to do, and actually this kind of goes with one of the earlier questions about being able to customize the look. Because we wanted to do that, our workaround is to basically create the entire game within a single drag drop puzzle.
Yeah.
And that's been working for us to get the look that we want. One of the things we've run into, though, is that we have some videos that we want an individual player to be able to see when they complete a task. But currently it's breaking away from the action for all players. They're seeing this video and then it's returning them to the former state. So just wondering, I know that I think that's something that you mentioned is a feature that's on the way. I just was trying to figure out if there was any sort of way to work around it in the meantime.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I know, what I can think of there, and then see if Tyler has any ideas as well. Yeah, so that there's not a really good way of doing it at the moment. What I'm hoping to do is support videos embedded in items, so you can kind of position a video like you would a hotspot and have that within the item. I think that will give a lot of flexibility that's badly needed. But right now, yeah, you've got some options for doing videos. You can do a video as a forced view, but like you said, that means it comes up for everyone, so all the players see it. You can automatically hide at the end, but yeah, it's not so good if you just wanted one person to see it. If you wanted one person to see a video and it's sort of in response to clicking on a hotspot or something within your other item, you could do it as a pop-up. So that's the thing you can do from a hotspot at the moment. But they will have to close the item after the pop-up after they've finished. And then finally, you can do some stuff with animated GIFs, but that's not quite the same as a video, and you have to be very careful about file sizes. But
got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if Seth or Tyler, if you had anything to add to that, more from experience.
No.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Tyler, did you have that stuff you want to show up, or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Great. You should hopefully be able to share your screen. I've made you a co-host. See if it works.
All right, give me 1 second.
I think people might also enjoy the programming madness of that as well. Yeah, somebody posted a really cool slide puzzle today that was pretty neat.
Yeah. No, I
really
saw
cool.
that. And a video showing how it was made, which is super cool.
Though the wood grain, oh my god, that makes the puzzle. That's a hard puzzle.
Okay, so here's the behind the scenes GM control for our game for Mad Pharaoh. this is the very start of the game. So when players are introduced to the room, they get assigned desks, and these desks have a bunch of draggables on them that they can kind of mess around with and do things. I think this kind of brings back to that question from earlier about the draggables showing up and loading differently. So I have two desks to show you that have kind of a bunch of stuff on them. So our poet has this book that shows up on their desk. So this is my bad internet, just FYI, like real bad today. I'm running at like maybe 5 or 4 megabytes a second. So yeah, not glorifying. Actually, never mind. Wrong desk. I'm going to show you the cartographer. That's the one who has more stuff. Yes. So there's like a bunch of stuff loading asynchronously. Obviously, it's not all loading at the same time. I don't know if you saw the little tabs on this book, which are hotspots you can click on, load faster than something like this book itself, and then still faster yet the background, or slower, sorry. And then when you click on each of these, they have another image that pops up alongside of it. So it's like those little tabs are only like a 7 kilobyte file that is like what, 30 by 30 pixels. And then the background itself is like 1900 by, I want to say like 720 or something. I don't remember the exact ones, but that's about right. And I think it's about 2 megabytes as a background file. So that tells you how different those loading times are. That kind of is pretty representative. And then I can also show you the Egyptologist, which has a bunch of pictures that they drag around at the very beginning. And those all kind of load separately. So like, this is my bad internet. If you're trying to hide things behind an image, I recommend using a code to hide something instead of having it be hidden by just a hotspot that you can move. If you click on the hotspot, maybe another image appears behind it to kind of add to like your layering of hiding things.
Could you do timers to have something appear once the page loads?
That could also work. I mean,
so I thought that was a very good tip there, that if there's something secret that you wanted to hide, you were saying about not having that on the background, but having that itself on a hotspot that you can show later. So there's no chance of the secret being revealed.
Yeah, because we get a lot of customers with really slow, like, I mean, on my computer, this thing will load almost instantaneously. But I know Tyler's internet is like my internet at home, and a lot of customers just have mediocre internet. So yeah.
Yeah, just be wary that like what you're probably working on at your office where you have really good internet is not going to be the same, or have this very similar loading time to people who have crappy internet. So, all right, I'm going to stop sharing for now.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for showing. That's
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, really, really cool to see.
Boba Fett has got another hand raise.
Cool.
I feel like I'm dominating the questions, so I apologize. So one of the things that I noticed is that we have a lot of well, like we were talking about, like videos. So we have like a video player where they have to go in and we have the screen there, and then they have to push the different buttons, and then those videos pop up. We're also having like game audio playing. And so we said, okay, so when you play the video, we want the game audio to pause. So we did that. There's no way of unpausing the video. So even after they close out, it's not restarting the audio. Is there I noticed I brought that up because the other question about video and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the technical reason for that is that we have, I'm assuming you're using videos in forced view, and then you're using close after the video finishes. So you've got that option to kind of show a video, then once it's finished to close it so that they're back wherever they were. Now, the reason there isn't currently a way of triggering anything else after the video finishes is because of connection speeds and things. Some people may take a lot longer to load the video, so we don't have a kind of a defined time when it's definitely over. And that is something I'm trying to work out some sort of solutions to, or some ways around. What you can do, which isn't perfect, but may well work for your situation, is to use a timer. So you can start a timer when at the same time as the video, and then have that timer trigger your audio to start. And of course, if the video is slightly slow to load, that may not work perfectly, but often with stuff like that, where it's kind of if it's a few seconds out, it probably doesn't matter. That can work quite well.
I noticed that David Bodsworth in the chat says that he doesn't have the hand raise feature. Don't know whether you want to ask a question or make a comment, David.
Hello.
Hi, Katie.
Oh, you can tell I'm not David. Yes, I do have a question. We are currently working with some 3D models, very simple, basic 3D models. Okay, and I have, via various methods, managed to make these 3D. There's just 3 boxes, and they are GTLF files or possibly GLTF files. They're embedded in my website via Babylon, and it's just a couple of little bits of code in my website page. And when I load it straight from the website, it loads in like 2 seconds. But when Telescape tries to load it, it takes, well, I could make a cup of tea. So I was just wondering if A, there's a reason for that, B, if there's a solution to that, and C, if maybe like in the future there may be something like your 360 option, to have a 3D option in Telescape.
Yeah. So it sounds like something is going very, very wrong with your embed there. I'm not sure what, but yeah, that's if we're talking the difference between a second and minutes, then there is something seriously wrong. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It will be something to do with the interaction of your sort of the external code that you've got and the software. I could probably take a look at that sometime and see if anything jumps out. To answer your second part of your question, though, supporting some kind of 3D objects in the games as like a first-class feature, because obviously it can be done right now by embedding other things, but as a first-class feature where potentially we could have hotspots on the 3D objects, something I really want to do. It's not right at the top of the to-do list at the moment. But
no, I understand that most people aren't making 3D models, so
yeah. I know that that
we use Sketchfab.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could, if you want, I can pop that up too if you want to see it. But yeah, Sketchfab, I think it's free for one object, or it's not expensive. And then we have the iframe to that, and it loads. We have a pretty complicated model, and it loads in, I don't know, maybe a second.
Really? Awesome.
Yeah.
I do use Sketchfab. I've got them because when I make them originally, they're GLBs, so I have to put them in Sketchfab and re-download them as GLTFs. It's all very complicated. I just wanted it to be because the way that I have it embedded on the site doesn't show, the little button to go to Sketchfab or my name or anything like that on there. So, but I mean, Sketchfab, yes, is certainly a workaround.
I don't think ours shows that either, though. Does it,
Oh,
Tyler?
It does. There's a link. It's very hard to notice unless you're like looking for it.
I'm just being picky, really.
Is, but yeah, I get it. I don't want that extra little remnant on my stuff either.
And I've never even noticed it.
If anyone is interested in how to set up Sketchfab, I think I do have a video on that in the support system. So if you have a look for that, it's yeah, it's a fairly basic way because it's not a full integration, but it does work well, and yeah, you can see it working in Rise of the Mad Pharaoh. You can see it working very well there. I'm just going to end the poll we've got going and start a new one. So I'll share the results with everyone just before I hand back over to Carl to get the next question. So yeah, it's kind of interesting to see that we're about so about 40% of people said they're doing live avatar games, and then another 30% doing like self-contained games, and then another 30% are doing both. So it's cool to see that there are there's still got lots of people doing both those things, and that's obviously Telescape started as a live avatar inventory thing, but it's absolutely awesome to see it grown beyond that and people building kind of self-contained and fully automated games in it as well. Someone also answered something else for that poll, so I'm curious to what that is. If that person's here and wanted to come on camera or just post in the chat and say what the something else is, I'd be really interested to hear.
So just going back to the questions, there's a question about do we have an optimum video size or quality? I'm assuming that it might be an opportunity, one, for if Seth and Tyler have got any sort of recommendations on the sizes of videos, but also, Tom, whether you want to talk about the actual codec in regards to do you do any encoding on videos or not?
I should just give some of the technical details first. That we actually, when you upload a video, we re-encode it. We do that because we re-encode it so that it's in a couple. We encode it to a couple of formats, so we can get maximum compatibility with as many browsers as possible. And also because quite often the videos people upload are very, very large and would take a very, very long time for people to download. I would say that our video encoding at the moment is far from perfect. Really depending on the video you upload. Sometimes they come out fine, sometimes they come out not so good. So that's something I'm working on. What I'm hoping to have soon is an adaptive bitrate setup where we basically encode it to all different qualities and serve different ones depending on what the speed of the browser is. But Seth and Tyler, I would love to hear about your approach, because you've got quite a lot of videos in your games.
Yeah, I mean, we just Tyler probably knows more about the specs, but I mean, I don't think we've had any issues. There's been some weird times where we've had to upload it twice. Or like, I think sometimes I export them at like 720 HD, like a little, we're not doing 4K. That definitely did not work. But they come, I mean, HD has been working, and 720, the higher standard definition definitely works. But I mean, our one video is like 3 minutes long, and it's, other than a little bit of lag from my point of view to theirs, it hasn't been too bad. Though I do suggest Tyler implemented timers for the Gamemaster to see. So when the video starts, I see the timer on the back end. So I know when to tell them jump and start the game or jump back in, because I can't hear the video. And that's something that I definitely recommend. I don't know, Tyler, if you want to talk about file size or anything.
I don't know what I'd have to say necessarily. I feel like Telescape requires you to upload an H.264 compression rate file, which is like just very important. I don't know. But yeah, that video timer is like probably the best thing you could get out of this. It's super useful on the back end for like a Gamemaster, because there's no you really don't want to be playing the video as a Gamemaster, like in the room, just because then it requires a lot more effort on your part to like mute mics and then unmute yourself and deal with all that stuff. There's just a way for you to push a button and then wait.
Yeah.
Like that's I see that as less fiddly for everyone and easier to teach anyone who you might have to teach.
Yeah.
So, so actually, I have a question. So right now we have a feature where when you're in the GM view, you get little icons that show you for each of the players whether they're currently playing a video or currently paused. But it sounds like you're still finding the timer useful. Are you finding that those aren't enough then to kind of to judge it?
I think the timer for me as the game master is a little bit easier to read on a tablet.
Right. Okay.
It's just
Yeah.
I got old eyes. The kids using the young kids doing the GMing, they probably don't have as much trouble. But if you're running it from a phone, it's harder to see. But I like both, because of the weird lag. Like usually the timer ends after they've all finished the video because of the lag issue. But yeah, I think it's good to have both.
Would it be useful if we were to automatically show how much of the video is left for all the players rather than just showing whether they're watching it or not?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, that's definitely something we can do. This is just me trying not to overwhelm with too much information. But if it's useful enough that you're putting up your own timers, then I think that's probably something we should do. So that's really good, really useful.
That might avoid the timer need, though. For me, it's like I love having the timer there. It's easy to read.
Yeah.
Just real quick, I'm sorry, I don't mean to just jump in, but with that timer, are the players seeing the timer as well, or is it just for the GMs?
I think it's just for the GM.
Yeah. It's just for the GM.
Okay, so I'm on Telescape over here. Where do you see that? So it plays just to the. Do you
want me to pop it up and show you how it looks from our point of view?
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me figure out how to do this. Give me a second. Okay. Now I got to pull up things.
I can jump in and answer that question because I've done it a lot with the videos that we run. Basically, if you start a timer without showing a timer, it will only show to the Gamesmaster and it won't show to the customer.
So very cool.
So if you obviously your main game timer is like if you have an hour to play the room, you would show that timer then start as your 2 bits of code. But if you don't show it, it only comes up on the GM panel.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Here, I'm gonna see if I can do this right.
Thanks, Guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
So I've got to just populate this real quick to get to it. So this is me on fancy internet. You can see it loads almost instantaneously, by the way.
Yeah.
So, all right, ignore the doofus in the video. So I'm going to tell people. So we coded this right here. Can everybody see this? Hopefully, where it says mute mics. This is just because I want to remind our GMs to tell the players to mute mics. So we hit this, and then I come up, and you can see the timer right here. Does everyone see that there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then we can start the game. That's enough for everybody seeing my idiocy. But this timer is actually technically still going. But this way, when I see this hit 0, I know to go and start the game and tell them to unmute their mics. So I don't know does anyone else have any more questions on that before I stop sharing?
If you want to show how you actually coded it, never mind.
Oh, I can. Yeah, I mean, I can. Let me figure out how to do this again. There we go. I can. What do you want me to? What should I show here, Tyler? Because you.
So for the coding on that one, it would be. I mean, each individual desk is numbered. Should say that at.
It's probably the start video one that you want to see just for that bit though.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking. Oh,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
So, I'll just kind of scroll down a little bit slowly, but.
So yeah, basically it's just at the top going down. So if you want to scroll up a little bit, there's the enable code only after these. So as you noticed, it only popped up after we made everyone click on these cards that are on the player desk. So once all those codes are enabled, then this intro video code pops up. And then if you scroll down, it just will show the inventory item of the video and then start a timer with the intro video timer. And since it's just start timer, it's not show timer. Show timer, I guess, is the one that puts it in the player's view. Start timer just does it behind the scenes.
You can also see, I'm also noticing that this was an SD file, so as opposed to HD for the video. And that's a pretty long file, and the quality is great. So that goes back to that. Geez, let me not hit the delete button. This is why Tyler doesn't let me in here. But I mean, like the desks, you can see like, this is like, where is some of the fancier ones?
I don't know.
Or you have everything separated. This is the original system too, before all the new stuff. So there's like,
yeah. So I mean, those gray boxes on the bottom is how we made the heads turn on the characters before we had hotspots that could change.
Yeah, there was
So,
I can show you.
It's the gold box.
Yep, here we go. Give gold box. Here, I'm gonna pop this open too. This is again Tyler being brilliant. Because before, let me figure out who had the gold box. Here we go. Before you could replace images, we had to figure out how to do this. So each of these are its own little photo that's been edited, and then to open it, because this is before you could just trigger it, then you click things to open it. Now I think it's just so much easier. And then this is the 3D model. I guess, yeah, that's the thing, but you can see, takes a little bit to load, but Sketchfab really works great for this. So did anyone else want to say anything before I X out of this?
So I jumped to the bottom of the chat. There's a question from Rayla Arena. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. I don't know whether you're there, whether you would like to ask a question, but I know you had a question specifically about any advice for managing GM control at the same time as holding a camera. I don't know whether you've done any stuff in the programming in Telescape to help that, Seth or Tyler.
You mean like how? Yeah, I mean, actually, Tyler did a lot. Probably did. If you had noticed, everything's color coded. That helps. Like, because the question is like, how do we manage it as a game master?
Yeah.
Camera. So, in the Telescape, having the timers, labeling things for the GM that the players never see, and be short and clear. You know, like open desk. You know, very like talk like it should be written like you're talking in a caveman language, look, open left drawer. So any GM can kind of always jump into it. Or if you're building these for another client, if you give these to the client, they know what you did, so they can always rename it themselves. But keeping things really clear, color coding has helped me a lot. Order of things, everything's organized alphanumerically, so you'll notice whenever we do stuff, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That way, we put the numbers number what it looks like in the Telescape list for the GM, and then we have a tablet, tablet or phone. Tablet works a little bit better. Again, easier to see, easier to click. And then for us, we have a chest mount with a gooseneck. Some people like the gimbal or a tripod, but really just what we're finding is not just the Telescape and the camera, but we do what's called stage locking on a lot of our games, where we'll actually put the lock over the hasp. So the hasp, or under the hasp, I mean, so it's actually never locked. You just fiddle with the lock on camera and go, oh, it's open. If it's the wrong code, you can, you don't do that. But little things like that. Sometimes we'll set the codes one number off, depending if we know we can avoid showing that with the camera, because cameras nowadays will be pretty good resolution. But yeah, so it's kind of a mix of just a good way to hold the camera in one hand, and then having Telescape set up really nice and clear, and customizing that for your GM, not the player, on the back end.
Thanks, Seth.
But before we move on to the next question, I thought I'd just close up this next poll, and let me just share that with everyone as well. I thought it's pretty cool that we're pretty evenly split between just getting started, comfortable, and experienced. Although I think some people are being modest, because I know there are some advanced people here. Well, I would definitely consider advanced. But yeah, really, really cool to see we've got a good contingent of people who are just getting started, and I hope some of this is really useful, and I hope this is useful to everyone. But yes, you especially who are just getting started, welcome, and yeah, I hope this is helpful. Cool, and I'll pass over to Carl to get the next question. I'll share another poll.
Well, I really hope we got a good answer for you there, Raylo Arena. If you did want to ask a question, please let us know if there's anything that we didn't cover there. Just going back up the comments list for a moment. There was a comment from Colin Seuss about he's got a 3.5 megabyte animated GIF that he says takes 19 seconds to load. I'm assuming that's based on his internet connection and not necessarily what his players are going to experience. But we haven't really spoken about animated GIFs, so I wondered whether Colin wanted to ask a question, or are you there, Colin?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi.
Seth's gonna bust me for this one because I work for him right now. I'm so sorry. No,
it's awesome.
We were messing around with a thing that had an animated GIF, and I'm on gigabit to the home right now, and it happened to take 19 seconds consistently to load up for me. So I'm assuming somewhere in the chain there's some throttling, but that was just mentioning that in the context of the rest of the, well, how big should these things be? And I'm like, 3.5 megabytes is too much.
Yeah.
I mean, for the background image in Pharaoh, it was pretty big. It's regrettable that I made it that big. But yes, 3.5 is like the very max that you could ever make a file.
Yeah.
And then you have to make it less than that.
Yeah, I would say a GIF needs to be, a GIF needs to be less than a megabyte, if not half that, because we, for to put it in context, we ended up splitting the animated items within this larger GIF into little ones that we could just pop in little GIFs as opposed to one big one. Nice. I mean, I guess we could have taken the big one and made it into little animated squares, and I could have made Colin's life hell by having him line them up perfectly.
Don't joke.
If we had time, I'd tell you to do it. Yeah, we're animated GIFs and transparent PNGs. That is such just an amazingly useful thing, because that's how we're doing our red reveal. That's how we're doing so many, adding a flair to the game, to these point and click games, and just even our regular items is little minute animations, like just a flickering dot that you could add to a control panel, makes this stuff look like $1 million. I mean, I think that's the thing the biggest thing I always would want to impart to people building your games is really make sure that the art, you can have the best programming in the world, but if the art is not A+, it doesn't translate well enough. If you really want to get your art to that A+ level, and then even so programming is going to look fine, if that makes sense. So like adding little details of little animated things really make the game, I think, kind of pop and make it more memorable for the customer. We're learning that as we go along with some of our point and click games. We can make some of the items look a lot better just by adding like little torch flickerings, in a scene, and stuff like that.
And am I right to say that sort of things like torch flickerings, you would use an animated GIF?
Yeah, I mean, we've done that. You could even put that into when you do a flickering torch and then you have the overglow. Tyler kind of did this with the in our Pharaoh game with the candle. When the candle lights, it it gives an effect, that there's radiance coming off the flame too. So that, again, this is like the little things is when you're starting to build these, don't just pop up like a flame. Well, if you're using a transparent GIF, or you can change maybe your background, but you can really get a little bit into the details of some of the animation to add atmosphere. I think that's how you did it, Tyler. I don't.
Yeah. No, that's accurate.
Yeah. Yeah.
May I ask a question, Tyler? So when Seth was showing the example earlier, he had the box that opened, but it only opens as you turn the Sphinx head sort of in quarters. How did you program the Sphinx heads? Are those little animated GIF sequences that rotate every time it's clicked, or and is it run by a code, or?
It's run by a code. It was before this was before hotspots could have codes inside of them. So it was entirely code driven. So when you'd click on an image, it would hide the previous hotspot and make a new hotspot appear. Like, they aren't three-dimensional images. Technically, I just took pictures of the box in the room and turned it.
Right.
And just cut out the images and made it look like that. Yeah, it was a very code-heavy experience. I think at this point, with alternate images, it will be that would be a lot cleaner code, and it would take a heck of a lot less time to program. So yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely seeing things like that that encouraged me to add the alternate images feature. So now you can just do it all from a single hotspot with a few alternate images that it just cycles through. But yeah, back when Tyler implemented that, it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impressive to me to see, like, not only that Tyler was able to figure that out, but again, that goes back to, like, if you have really good quality art, it really makes it. Because imagine if those heads weren't lined up perfect, or the camera angle had changed. Little things like that. I think really can help people out.
Before you get the next question, well, we've got about 5 minutes left, so we've probably got enough time for maybe one more question. I'm just going to end that poll and share the results, and it's pretty cool to see that about 55% of people who answered that one didn't come to the last one. So it's really cool to get new people, more people in for the poll. And I'm going to ask one more question. I'm just interested who's in the Facebook group and who isn't. But yeah, please go ahead and pick the next question.
So I think we've covered all of the questions really. Rayla Arena, who asked about how Seth manages GM versus in-room, said thanks for that. Thanks for the answer. She asks, would you recommend a tripod or a gimbal?
I personally use a chest mount. There's a gimbal that I can't remember what it's called. There's somebody in here probably uses one of the gimbals that they could recommend a really good one. I can't think of the name of it, but there's like a few that are out there. They're like $100 that are pretty good. But again, I end up using the chest mount, and then I replace the gooseneck with a GoPro brand gooseneck because the ones that come with it are junk. But I mean, I've had the same harness almost for a year now, and I use it, 2-3 times a day. So yeah.
Cool.
Cool. And I can't remember their name, but I also think there's somebody making custom things on the Facebook page.
David, who if you search the the Facebook group for Mount 3D printer, then you'll find David, who's been making customized mounts for cameras. He's making ones where you can have one camera for your view and one camera for Telescape. Yeah, it was really
That's
cool.
awesome. And then I saw you. I think that's Maggie. Just the DJI Osmo 3. That's the one I played with. It is really cool. It is a really cool. And I've seen people even have those mounted chest mounts too.
Nice. There was a good discussion about this in the Live Video Escape Rooms Facebook group fairly recently as well. If you want to get like a whole variety of different views on it, that's a good place to look.
So two quick questions that I can see. So Isolvu Escape Rooms asks, apologize if you mentioned this before, but what sizes are your videos in terms of, are they 1080p? Are they 720?
Say that again for me.
What size are your videos? I'm thinking in terms of the actual physical, like like how many pixels wide, how many that kind of thing.
I could
720p.
I think that. Hold on. Let me just check my files. That'll be the easiest way.
Thanks.
I think it was 720.
I think it's 720 SD. 720, the highest quality available is basically what it says. Because we found that 1080 was crashing a bit. It was getting sometimes it was getting weirdly pixelated in a really weird way. And 720 on a computer or a phone, it looks fine. Especially if for the animations we're doing, it seems to be working as well. So.
One thing I should. Oh, sorry.
Oh no.
Okay. Carry on.
You can go.
I was just going to say it's particularly the very pixelated issue was something I was seeing a little while ago, and I think that's fixed now. I changed some encoding settings, so hopefully that's fixed. In terms of like when you're outputting them at whatever pixel dimensions you decide to output them, I would always go for the highest quality because our re-encoding method will set them down to a certain size anyway. So you might as well not lose any quality in the exporting them. But it will always maintain the same pixel dimensions that you input, so that is important for you to choose still.
Yeah,
I can see lots of recommendations for equipment and gimbals going in the chat, which is great. The one question that remains sort of unanswered is coming from Escape Rooms. I don't know whether they're there and they would like to sort of ask a more specific question, but is there a rule of thumb for when to use actions via a code versus when you just do something straight from a hotspot? Click.
I think this would be a good one for Tyler.
Say that again. I was.
No problem. So I suppose the way that I'm translating the question is there a rule of thumb for when you would use actions via a code versus just have something trigger from clicking on a hotspot or a draggable dropping in a space?
I mean, I guess if it's an object that's stationary, then clicking on it and having it.
I was wondering if maybe the question was about whether. I think we lost Tyler.
There he goes.
Oh, there he's back. I was wondering if maybe the question was about when you would use trigger code versus just directly putting the actions on the hotspot. And I think the answer to that is: are you going to reuse? Is it a lot of actions, and are you going to reuse it? So sticking the actions on a code and then triggering them from a hotspot can be a good way of reusing a bunch of logic over and over. That's assuming that you don't actually just want players to type in the code, in which case it's definitely going to be a code.
Yeah.
I think that's about what I would say.
So we should probably wrap up sort of around now, unless there's any last questions. I'll just, one thing I'll just say is that's the answer to the last poll. There was a couple of people who said they didn't know about the Facebook group. So there is a Facebook group. It's called Telescape Live Users. There, if you are here, then you probably are here because you got an email inviting you to this. The bottom of that email has a link to the group. Please come join us. It's great.
Is there anything else anyone wanted to see back-end stuff of from us, or planning stuff?
Someone messaged me on Facebook too, and asked me what GIF maker we use to make GIFs transparent, and I cannot remember for the life of me.
So there's easygifmaker.com. Is like, so you have Giphy, I think it's called, where you can kind of upload stuff and make it. Or
it is EasyGIF. Yeah,
EasyGIF is better. And Photoshop, you can make them all in Photoshop, which is really the best, because you can have much more control. But for like a non-tech savvy person like me, EasyGIF Maker, I think it's just easygif.com. You can just upload the pictures. You can take a video and it will translate it into a GIF. There's a button to remove background, as long as the background's white or black, solid color. But it's really easy to use. But again, you can also do it in Photoshop to get better quality, better resolution in your GIFs. But then you've got the issue of then you still have to put it into EasyGIF Maker maybe to reduce the file size.
Yeah.
That sounds very sensible. Yeah, I mean, that is one thing to remember, that not all GIFs are equal. It's a lot of software will produce massively oversized GIFs. So yeah, that sounds like, I just posted a link to EasyGIF. I assume it's
cool.
ezgif.com, which I'd actually not seen before, but that sounds like a really great tip.
Yeah.
Especially if it optimizes your GIFs.
Yeah. And there's no accidental spam download buttons either, that you get with a lot of that freeware. That drives me personally insane. Yeah.
Eventually, I do plan to re-encode all GIFs that are uploaded to sort of get them. In fact, we'll probably eventually will re-encode them to MP4s behind the scenes, and that will make them hugely more efficient. But it's a lot more work to make that work. So yeah, right now, animated GIFs are something that works.
I mean, it looks like Colin was asking, is there any plan for if then else logic?
Yeah, that is definitely something that is conspicuously missing, I would say, from the system. That you can set conditions on things, but you can't say if this and if not this. You can set conditions and then have another condition on the negative of that. But I know that's particularly a pain when the first condition, if it's true, changes something that makes it no longer true. I'm going to try and one way you can work around that is by kind of externalizing your state. So have a condition, use that to change a hotspot or something, and then later on check that. But that's a bit clunky, and I will hopefully do something better. But hopefully not making it more complicated is the goal.
Yeah. I really want to just say GIF now, Todd, by the way.
It's definitely GIF. The creator of GIF says it's GIF, but he doesn't get a say in that.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else anybody had questions on?
I think that's everything, which is great, because it's been about an hour, which is I think a good length for these things. Thank you so much to Seth and Tyler. I really appreciate you coming and being my guests on this. It's really nice for me not to have to speak the entire time, and it's really great to get your perspective on everything. And it's been great. And thank you also to everyone who showed up. Really nice to have an audience. yeah, we'll do this again. I will announce it nearer the time, but my kind of plan is to do one of these maybe once a month while there's interest. So we'll see. But yeah, in the meantime, if you have any questions, best place to come is to the Telescape Live users group. That's a Facebook group. It's a good place. I really encourage you to come and ask your questions there. You can also get in touch with me at tom@buzzshot.co. And and you should go and play Seth and Tyler's games at hourglassescapes.com because they're really, really good.
We appreciate it, and yeah, I'd like to thanks everybody, and thanks Tom and Carl for making Telescape. It's pretty darn awesome. It's been great to see how all the improvements and all the new features coming out so quick and making life easier, much easier.
Well, thank you. Cool. So to avoid the kind of awkward everyone leaving, I'm going to just terminate the meeting now. So thanks so much everyone for coming, and I'll see you next time.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.